breaks out of me. I want to tell it to me. My voice in your head. I hope you can hang your hand in my love is not wrong hand. I know that you have to go. My name is Norma. This memory is reading aloud today. Full pages of practically myself act. Well, that is all that for a minimum standard quiz. It follows exactly the laws of fire. Guarantees the world. One, I dedicate 1 hour daily towards building and protecting myself confidence. 2, I practice and improvise my self-skills for a minimum 1 hour every day. 3, I contact my spirit influence by mail, by phone, and or in person, and writing on boards. 4, I make 150 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day, by phone or in person. 5, I follow all I can do. 6, I set 5 plus 2 appointments per week with myself. 7, I completely pre-qualify 100% of my appointments. 8, I have appointments for days with listening and integration of the trainer. 9, I follow my course weekly and follow the 10, I sell 75% or more of my listing inventory. 11, I work from every time I call contact every buyer relief within 2 hours of meeting price. 12, I only work with all qualified buyers who are pre-qualified for and assign a buyer broker agreement. Earn more commission than 100%. I recognize the 7,000. Therefore, I commission all here. Now I'm the boy! I will lead not follow! I will lead not doubt! I will create not destroy! I am a force for good! I am a leader! Side yard! Set a new standard! Step up! I'm a professional salesperson who gets home sold. I get information like I'm in a senior goal. I focus on small wins every day. My ability may be fatigued. I get stronger with every step. I'm not master of every persuasion. I always have productive thoughts. I take excellent care of my body. I start each day with an abundance of energy. I am task-oriented. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want and I get it. I attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me unlimited financial success. I keep prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I handle my money wisely and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I get to start each day. I enjoy being that free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat healthful foods. I'm a real estate expert. My ex-wife is a real estate expert. I am a professional. I am financially independent. I earn tips when eating something others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call expires for sale by owners. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy following up my SOI. People are attracted to my enthusiasm. I use technology to succeed. I get mentally strong with every call I make. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a powerful agent. I know how to succeed. I keep positive, excited, fun, direct, not for money, all time. Yes.
Get you fill my head, a million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me
A million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
for the world we're gonna make.
And those. Morning, everyone. Good morning. How's it going?
Great.
Good. Good. Thank you, Mike. Let's hear it. Victories, gratitudes, wins. Who's first? Did it seem like we had more people in here earlier? What?
They saw your witness.
Is that what it was? Thank you, Tim.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
stating the
Anytime.
obvious. Thank you. Who wants to go first? Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
Nice.
Love it. Awesome. Is that the one you were talking about yesterday in book club? Well done. What's your goal appointments per day right now?
I'm pretty consistent getting 2 every day.
What's your standard, guys? Make it happen. You can easily get 2. Good job, Evan. Who else? Does no one want to follow Evan? I mean,
Oh, I don't have any. Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for this company and people who will just tell you the truth so that you can be better. Rob. I didn't cry this time, so that's probably a bonus. But no, I just think, I think the whole culture of this company, and I just really appreciate the brokers and everyone. I know that it's your job, but I know that we all have a job, and that our goal and our culture is to just make people better. Whoever that next step down from us is. So I just appreciate that from all the brokers. Not just
That's a great point. Even working with our clients, right?
Right.
When they know that we want what is best for them.
It hurts sometimes,
Yes.
and it's hard.
Yes.
They're hard conversations, but
But as long as they know we love them. Makes sense. Yeah.
I did my first, I did my first run C the other day, so I'm super grateful for everyone that's helped me. You helped me, I had 3 people just giving me tons of information, helping me out, so I'm super grateful for everyone here just openly willing to help out for nothing in return.
Congratulations.
Oh, there's gonna be. So you better. You
Well.
better. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Who else? Rick.
Super grateful to attend the Mike Ferry event this week. I mean, just to look at the production and the commitment for people around the globe that was there. Because we had people from Japan, Germany, Norway, just around the world, and it's Russia, Italy, and to see the level of production that is done, but also see comparative to us as a company and what our people do. We rock, and we show up in force too. So very, very, very good event.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm excited to hear more about that. Okay. Anyone else?
All right. So, UPW, Unleash the Power Within, March 14th through the 17th in LA. I guess we can take down the Mike Ferry production retreat. Toastmasters, we have Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. We had a smaller group yesterday because of Mike Ferry, but it was a great meeting. And then you will see an announcement here soon, but Judgment Free Zone, if you have not yet done your vision board, on Tuesday, I believe at noon, you're going to see an announcement going out. We're going to do vision boards and, yeah, pizza, music.
It's the Tuesday at noon.
It is.
I wanted to go.
Oh.
Sorry.
We'll make it happen.
I was
Yeah.
anticipating it, but it's okay. My
Thanks.
son has an orthodontist appointment that I
Oh, you're going to have to move that order.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just kidding. So, yeah, but look for announcements coming out about that. Anything else I'm leaving out? I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, and then Friday, January 18th, we have our meth class at 10 to noon.
Russ's class today for Peak Agent.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, those who are new and haven't gone through an orientation, it's 1 o'clock on Mondays. Come to that. It's in here. That helps you understand the systems, introduce you to the systems and the platform in which we use here. So good thing if you haven't, and if you need a reminder, you know, come to that. So it's just not if you're new.
Yeah, great point. Thanks, Rick. Okay, so today, yeah, it's amazing the days you go to the gym before you come to work, how much better you feel, right? You get up. Today I'd like to talk about choices. So I'm in the cinema room and running there on the treadmill, and I don't get the big craze about Harry Potter, but there's a Harry Potter movie on, and I still don't get it. I don't understand why it's like such a big deal and stuff. But anyway, during this movie, when I'm sweating there on the treadmill, they say something very interesting, and I looked up the quote here I'd like to share with you. And in one portion, someone says, whoever it is, Voldemort, or what are the weird names are, I don't know, but it says, someone's going to quote this and know this precisely, but it is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities.
That's interesting.
It's our choices, Harry Potter, I know that at least, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. And when I heard that, I was thinking about choices, and my choice this morning to go to the gym and make that happen, even though I was tired and it was difficult and I didn't want to necessarily do that, and how I felt afterwards for making the right choice. And that the right choices very often are the more difficult choices to make, right? There's a Japanese story, proverb, I don't know how far back it goes, but there's this story about an emperor, and he does not have an heir to the kingdom. And he is putting a lot of thought into who's going to inherit the kingdom and who would make the best choices as an emperor for his people. And he apparently has these beautiful gardens there sprawled across his estate and everything. And so he puts out a decree to everyone in the kingdom. He says, any children can come, so he's going to the children, and he says, any children can come, we'll give you a pot with a seed, and whoever brings back that pot with the seed in, I don't know, a year or so, or in 6 months, or 3 months, and whoever is taking care of this seed the best, and whoever can present the most beautiful flower will inherit the kingdom. And there's one child by the name of Ping, I believe, and he has great abilities. They say within the story he's not just a green thumb, but an emerald green thumb. And he's always grown up in his family, like nurturing their own garden and everything. And he has these great abilities. And so he goes, presents himself, gets his pot for the seed that he has, and takes it home. He waters it, fertilizes it, everything. And over time, just nothing happens. And he's thinking, oh man, well, And there's all this pressure because he has this great ability when it comes to having a green thumb and everything. And so he even transfers it to another pot, a larger pot with more fertilizer, more dirt, waters it more, whatever he does. I don't have a green thumb. And so over time, it's coming up to the deadline to be able to present himself there with his finished product. And he, leading up to the time, nothing happens. And so he goes there, he brings this pot. I mean, no flower emerges from it, nothing. And he's standing in line there, and there's all these other children with like these beautiful flowers, you know, growing from their pots and everything. And it's like every other person has something tangible to present to the emperor. And he gets up there and presents what he has. And the emperor says, this is very interesting. Do you know why? And Pink says, I don't know why. And he says, each of those seeds had been cooked or boiled, so they were unable to produce. And he's the only individual who produced or showed himself without the flower that someone else may have acquired from a garden somewhere else and transplanted it. Mm. So it's an interesting story that regardless of what our abilities are, how often are we making those difficult decisions day in and day out? When maybe we don't see the product or the flower that comes from it immediately. Now we're in an age where we expect results immediately, right? We expect to be able to go to our phone and pull up something and get what it is, whatever we want, when we want. But how often do we look at our choices? One thing that's extremely interesting to me is the days that I have just worked my bleeping butt off to be able to produce something, regardless of whether I had that appointment or that closed deal or whatever it is, or that new client at the end of the day, when I look at myself in the mirror and know that I put forth my maximum effort and I did what was difficult, those are the days I'm happiest. Can you guys think of those days yourselves? When you make that difficult decision, the right decision, how do you feel about yourself? And is it dependent on the outcome? Do you guys have anything you want to share? What are your thoughts about that?
Could I
Yeah,
just
Rick.
get a clarification on the story? So everybody bringing the flowers, everybody was given seeds that have been boiled, but the only one that presented themselves as was the one person.
Everyone
else lied.
Everybody else lied.
Everyone else took a flower, put it into their pot so they could have the most beautiful flower as a result and get the kingdom.
Kind of what I thought you said, but I was.
Good question. Glad you asked. Yeah.
Just to answer your question, so last year, our first kid was born mid-July or June.
Nice.
And I decided to kind of stay at home and work from home to kind of just be there for my wife and first kid, I don't know. And it went well, and I had a really good year, but I could have had a better one. And as I sat down with my broker, David Parker, and explained to him my goals of this year, he said, yeah, you know, in years, you got to start coming back to the office, and I committed myself to be here every morning, and I actually take a picture every day that I'm here to be accountable to him, and say, hey, I'm here, here's what we're talking about. Just like, I've only been doing this for almost 2 weeks tomorrow, and the mentality it's given me has put me at a capacity to go from starting with 0 this year to having 4 under contract.
Wow. Good for you.
So it's just powerful what can happen if you're here, if you apply yourself, and I'm just a witness of that. And it's because every day I've been going hard, and it all starts with my morning, to be able to finish, like you said, you know, feeling proud, feeling like I gave everything on the table that day.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else? Yeah, John.
Your story and what I believe you're sharing reminded me of what Coach Wood would tell his basketball players, which was, which is normally not ever said by a basketball coach, because he said, I win or lose, I don't care. And that's the one thing they should say. But you look at him and say, win or lose, I don't care. Just as long as you can look yourself and me in the eye and tell me you gave it your all all of the practices and at the game. And as long as you can say that, you are in complete integrity, and win or lose does not matter. And even though that's what he said, Coach Wooden has the record for the most wins ever in college basketball.
Isn't that interesting? UCLA coach, greatest record ever in college basketball, the most wins, amazing individual. And here within our own organization, and thank you for sharing that, John, we can talk about, Coach Wooden could have, I'm sure he ran drills and did trainings and things like that for his agents, but his focus was on the individual. What's interesting is we hear so many times, we know what we should be doing, right? And when it's difficult, there are a couple things that I use to look inward if I'm making the right decision. One thing, which is probably most important, is what do I want and why do I want that? A lot of times when we don't know exactly what path to take, we don't know exactly where we're going, right? And in addition to that, a couple things I ask myself, or ask yourself why you're making this decision. Is it based off of making things easy? Is it based off of fear? Which a lot of times when I make the wrong decision, it's based off of one of those two things. So I really just, so I'm actually going to turn the time over. So speaking of Toastmasters yesterday, we had a couple phenomenal speakers. We got to hear from both John and Clint back here. And Clint talked about integrity and choices. And he shared an experience which I thought was absolutely incredible. And as soon as I heard that, I wanted more people to hear it. So yeah, I'd like you to, if I don't close today, I'd like you to identify just, you don't have to change everything, but identify one decision, one choice that you've consistently been making that's really cutting yourself off at the knees, either in your career or in family or whatever that might be. And then identify what that choice needs to change to, what that decision needs to change to, the right decision, and what may change in your life. Just like it's been shared already with Coach Wooden and also with your experience. Thanks for sharing that. So a lot of times we make choices absent-mindedly without knowing where we're putting ourselves. Does that make sense, guys? So yeah, Clint, if you wouldn't mind coming on that, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Like to
So, for those of you that had to hear me yesterday at Coastmasters, I'm sorry you have to hear me 2 days in a row.
No, it was great.
So Chris wanted me to just kind of explain, a little bit of my life philosophy on integrity, and that was kind of what my speech yesterday was. So to do that, I have to give you a little bit of background on my life. I am the youngest of 10 children, so had a big family, fairly poor family. Grew up just over here in Cottonwood Heights by the Mountain View Park. In fact, my dad's backyard looked right at where where the basketball courts would sit over there at Mountain View Park and stuff now. So we didn't have a big house, didn't have a lot of stuff. I didn't really know how poor we were growing up, considering everything that was going on. But being the youngest of 10, the background on my mother was she was about 4'10", 4'11", and was about 100 pounds. And so by the time I was born as the last kid, she had pretty much, destroyed her back and her hips and was sick and bedridden my whole life. When I was 5, I went to school one day to elementary school, and obviously I'm the first one to come home, from kindergarten, and walked into the bathroom and found my mother laying on the floor with a broken neck. She had slipped on the floor after a back surgery and had been laying there on the floor for a couple hours waiting for somebody to come home. And so I was really close to my mother and had a lot of, lot of great experiences with her. But when I was 15, my brother passed away from a drug overdose. And at the time, he was about 5 years older than me, and he was kind of my best friend and my idol, and I looked up to him and didn't know he was doing all these drugs and all these things. And when it happened, I kind of went over the deep end myself and kind of became that rebel and started doing everything wrong you could possibly do. And for the next 2 years, I really, it was amazing that I didn't end up in jail and whatever else from all the decisions I was making. Well, when I was 17, my mother finally got really, really sick just from all the drugs and everything she'd had to take all, my whole life for the pain and everything else. And we knew that it was kind of the last part of her life. And the day before she passed away, she'd asked my father to bring me to the hospital and drop me off, and didn't want anybody else there. And so I walk into the room, and when I got there, she really hadn't been speaking much for about the last 2-3 weeks. And she had a piece of paper in her hand, and she handed it to me, and on the paper was a poem, and it had a scripture on it. And I'm not going to go all religious scripture on you today, but she handed that to me, and all she said to me at that time was, "Clint, you need to become a man of integrity like your father." And at 17, I don't think you really truly ever understand any of that, or really the impact of that. And over the next 2 years, I still continued down that path of just self-destruction and pity. Now that my mother was died, and just whatever I could do wrong, I was doing wrong. And just before my 20th birthday, I decided I needed to kind of get my act together. I was playing tennis at Utah State for the team up there, and decided to change my life. And I can't say overnight that everything fell into place, but I do want to share with you again the poem that she gave me, and then I want to tell you a little bit about some of the conclusions in my life that I've come to from that. So the poem is called "The Man in the Glass." It says, "When you get what you want in your struggle for gain, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. And you've passed your most difficult, dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass." And then on that, it was interesting that she put this scripture, and it never correlated to me for a long period of time how that poem and this scripture went together. And the scripture was Matthew 6:21, and it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And it took me a long time in my life to realize that wherever I was putting the most focus in my life was what I valued the very most. And so my background is with my brothers. Over a 35-year period of time, we owned 67 nursing homes, had as many as 7,000 to 10,000 employees. We were doing well over $100 million a year of revenue. And in one fatal stroke, we lost it all. I mean, quickly, because I had a brother that had zero integrity and embezzled a lot of money from our company and left me and my other brother on the hook, and our family's on the hook for all the debt. And so we lost a company overnight. I mean, in less than 6 months, we lost a $100 million plus company. And when you start to reflect back on yourself, and you really look at the judgment, the choices and the things that you made, and you realize that for a long period of time, I looked at that and it was like, man, I'm worthless now. I mean, I don't have this company anymore and all this type of stuff. And yet I wasn't really looking at where my treasure should have been. My family, my friends, my associates. And so for 2 or 3 years after that happened, I kind of wallowed in self-pity, because at the exact same time as that was all happening, I got cancer. And when I went in the very first time, they said, well, you got about 20-25% chance of beating this. And I beat it the first time, and it came back. And I beat it the second time, and it came back. And I beat it the third time, but I beat it the third time, and I'm going to permanently beat it because I have people that trusted in me and believed me, like Rick. I mean, Rick was there many days when I came in that third time. I joined the company here 3 years ago, and I'd come in every day for the morning Ascent and for the role play with Rick. And we had some people in here that had some really sour attitudes. I mean, it was Christmas Eve one day, the morning of Christmas Eve, and we had an agent in here that was just bitching and moaning about his life and how real estate sucked and everything sucked. And I finally had to turn to him right in front of Rick and say, just shut up. Your life isn't that bad, right? And I mean, I got so hard on him that Rick literally fell over and hit his head on the chalkboard from kind of laughing. But, you know, after that, I became really good friends with this gentleman. He's not with the company anymore. He still writes me. He still follows me on Facebook. We still chat occasionally. But you make the choices. You make the choices to be successful. You make the choices to be happy. But as it goes for integrity, there's 9 things that over my life that I've now strived to do with everything that I do in my life. I want to read a couple of quotes really quickly, and then I'll go over those 9 things. This quote that I like on integrity is from Joel C. Peterson. He's the chairman of the board for JetBlue. He says, the single most important ingredient to business success is trust, and trust starts with integrity. Now, this was found in a quote. This was in an article done in, I believe it was Forbes or Fortune magazine, where they interviewed, and this is about 10, 15 years ago, they interviewed a bunch of CEOs from Fortune 500 companies. And the #1 trait identified by those CEOs was integrity. That's the #1 thing they look for when they're hiring their managers and their executive level people is integrity. And then if you look at C.S. Lewis, he writes a lot of stuff on integrity, but he says integrity is doing the right thing all the time, even when no one is looking, especially when no one is looking. And then this is a quote that I don't know who said it, but I've heard it multiple times, and it just says, there aren't enough of us saying that sometimes it's better to lose than to lose your integrity. So we don't always have to win the game. Just don't play the game the wrong way. So then the 9 things, these are 9 things that you know, I now strive to live my life by. #1 is fulfill your promises. If you break a promise, you have to do something about it right then. You need to apologize. You need to make it right. You can't let breaking your promises become a habit. #2, keep your appointments and be on time. There's nothing that shows other people how much you value them than showing that you value their time. Show up on time and show up every time. Because if you don't, you lose your integrity and you show them that you think you're more important than they are. #3, before you make a commitment, stop and reflect on whether you can 100% deliver on that commitment. Don't overcommit. If you can't commit and fulfill it, don't do it. #4 goes right along with that. Get comfortable saying no. No one can say yes to everything and follow through all the time. It's okay to occasionally say no. It's hard, but it's okay to occasionally say no to people. #5, examine how you react in knee-jerk situations. Use this to become self-aware and keep score of yourself and improve. The nice part about that is you can also look at how other people respond to knee-jerk situations, right? You can judge them a little bit on their character by how they react to a knee-jerk situation. Do they become emotional? Do they become angry? I mean, how do they respond when those things happen? #6, polish your communication skills. So this is a plug for Toastmaster. Sign up for Toastmaster. Get there, learn how to communicate better with people. But that just doesn't go with how you speak. It goes to your writings, to your emails, to all of that. Polish your communication skills. You have to be able to have a really well laid out, you know, organizational plan when you're communicating with people. If it's fuzzy to you, it's going to be fuzzy to them, right? And that leads to breakdowns in communication. So make sure, I mean, yesterday, Rob, or 2 days ago, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about the Rep Cs, and we were going through different scenarios of, you know, what would be, you know, the outcome of all these. But one of the things that everybody kept saying was best practice is, right, to just kind of over-document, overkill it. Go back and just put the extra verbiage in there, what you have to do to make it right, even if you think you've got a correct contract, right? #7, consider the habits and skills you need to develop to enhance your integrity. It is not something that just comes out. You have to work on your integrity, on your honesty, on everything in your life. If you want it to be a skill, you need to make it a skill, right? If you want it to be one of your top traits, then you need to work on it being one of your top traits. #8, and this is the one I probably, just based off of experience and having a brother that embezzled, you know, $17 million from a family business, right, is avoid people that have no integrity, okay? as hard as that might be, do not do business with them, do not associate with them, do not make excuses for them. It's important to realize that others pay attention to the people that you have chosen to associate with, and they will inevitably judge your character by those people. So don't associate with the people that are going to bring you down, right? George tells us all the time that, you need to pick, good friends, good people around you, good mentors, whatever else, because they will lift you up. You have to. If somebody has no integrity, you have to cut ties with them. And number 9, lead by example 100% of the time, right? You cannot expect others to have integrity if you just don't lead by example, and it shows in everything that you do. In closing, I just really, we ask for the gratitudes and stuff like that every morning. And this morning, I wrote down, again, much like some of the other people in here said, I wrote down that I'm grateful for Century 21. In one of the deepest, darkest holes of my life, while I was battling cancer for the 3rd time, had lost a business, was going through my bankruptcy because of the business, I had a gentleman, Rick, here pick me up every single morning and kick me in the butt to just get me going. And his basic gist was just stop feeling sorry for yourself. Just get up and go do it, right? That if you don't get up and go do it, nobody else is going to do it for you. But I promise you that if you live your life with integrity and you lead forth with integrity on every transaction, you will have nothing but great transactions. Thanks, Chris, for your time today.
Awesome. Wow. So thank you very much, Clint, and thank you for sharing that, really, those personal experiences. In closing, I just want to share that I remember in books I read, I used to always think that these individuals had done amazing things based on events that happened in their lives. We heard from Clint about events that occurred in his life. But it's not the event, it's the emotion that comes from that. I used to think, oh, I can't be like that. Like, I didn't go through that. How am I going to become that individual to accomplish those things or be a force like that person that I read about? It's the emotion that comes behind it. So make a decision now. Don't wait until those moments present themselves. Those 9 excellent points that Clint shared. That individual that may not have integrity, decide now how you're going to choose in those situations. Make a decision now. And then, as I'd mentioned before, know why. For me, when these difficult decisions come my way, difficult decisions, what I'm going to do, following this meeting, doing the right thing, who I'm doing it for. I have 3 younger boys. My vision, what I see in them, are soldiers. No matter what occurs in life, I know circumstances are going to be difficult. I know we want to protect others. But what are we doing to create that around us? There is power in integrity. There is power in doing the right thing. Not folding to the strong winds that come your way or difficult things. It's easy to make the easy choice. Make the right choice. So you guys know what those choices are. Identify what they are and decide beforehand what that choice will be when difficulty comes your way, when it's easy not to do it. Okay? Talk to me, anyone else. I'm so grateful for an organization where we can have conversations like this, where we can help one another and come from the right place of what is most important. I'm grateful for Rick, I'm grateful for other leadership, but please let me and Jason, please let any of us know if we can help you to make those right choices. And if you need that accountability in your life and those that want to build you up into the person that you should and deserve to be. Okay? All right, closing affirmations. I succeed because I act on my goals. I am an optimist. I like talking to
to me. Whatever people's names, I am dancing and I follow it. I am passionate about real estate. I know consistency is my greatest tool. I like asking questions and listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts and my emotions is acting on my own. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful and persuasive. I improve my skills daily. I am happy. I love the profit and the key to my business. I see my future in the office. I love my life. I am grateful for things. I control my things. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs and options daily. I get things done. I provide excellent customer service. I drink water daily. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I am disciplined and balanced. I get together. I prospect daily. I set appointments.